Is your English Springer Spaniel really, really skinny? Because I have now had two English Springer Spaniels that have been incredibly skinny. Meanwhile, their sisters have not been. Now, I had conversations with my vet, and I made sure that I was feeding them the proper amount, both recommended by the veterinarian and by the food companies, to make sure that they were getting a healthy amount of food. But I have learned something with these two dogs over both of their lifetimes that you should know as well. Sometimes with English Springer Spaniels, they just have an incredibly high metabolism. My Jada, so the dog before Lucy, was really, really energetic, and no matter how much I fed her for the first 6 years of her life, she would not get bigger. She did not gain weight. She just burned off that food so very quickly. And she wasn't always super active, but she burned off that food very quickly just by existing. And sometimes that happens with English Springer Spaniels. So you can be feeding them the appropriate amount and still be starving them. And we didn't realize this with Jada. When it came to Jada, I was giving her and her sister, who was just 6 months older, she was 1 litter apart, biologically related, and I was feeding her the same amount and the correct amount for her size and her age and her breed, and I was still unknowingly not giving her enough food. So it got to the point where she was starving all of the time, and she got a little bit aggressive with her food. She got a little nasty with her sister and stole her food a couple of times before we figured out what was happening. So at that point, we decided, okay, she is getting a little bit aggressive. We want to make sure that she's getting enough food. We're going to give her extra. And we did. When we did, she was finally okay. She didn't act like she was starving all the time. It was much more than the recommended amount, but it is what she needed. And for 6 years, that dog never gained weight, no matter how much or how little I fed her. She was always a skinny mini. It was just how her metabolism was. Now, her biological sister was not like that. Her biological sister had the correct amount of food, and she still had a little bit of weight on her. We had to make sure she was working out a little bit. And so different dogs, even if they are biologically related, can be very different in terms of this. Now, I have Lucy right now. Lucy is almost identical to Jada. They're not related in any way, but my gosh, when I got this dog, so similar to Jada. And Lucy is one of those dogs who requires more food. She's going to be really skinny for the first couple years of her life, no matter how much I feed her. Eventually, her metabolism is going to kick in, but it is a pattern. It's repetitious. I am seeing it more than one dog. Now, Lucy's sister Gemma, who is not biologically related to her, is not like that. She definitely has a little bit more meat on her bones, and she does not need as much food as her sister. And so even though they're relatively the same age, I have to make sure I'm paying attention to each specific dog. So your dog, if it's really skinny, does not mean you're abusing it, does not mean that you're not taking care of it properly, does not mean that you're making it do too much exercise. It simply means their metabolism is a little bit different. They're processing that food a little bit differently. And if they have all that energy, good for them. That is like the girl in high school that was skinny no matter what she ate, no matter what she did, and she never had to work out. We were all so jealous. Same thing, and I'm seeing it again and again in English Springer Spaniels. So I do recommend, if you feel like your dog is getting the proper amount, but is still kind of skinny and has lots of energy and is not gaining any weight no matter what you do talk to your veterinarian. But a lot of the vets that I've spoken to have said, no, just feed them the amount that they're supposed to get. Don't feed them extra. And because I listened to them, I started to see aggression in some of my dogs. I saw it in Jada, and I saw it in Gemma a little bit, who is not my skinny mini. So making sure that you listen to the advice of your vet is important, but you're the one who knows your dog. You're the one who has to advocate for your dog. You are there every single day. You are seeing how they work out. You're seeing what they eat. You're seeing their energy levels, and you're seeing their aggression levels. You need to be able to monitor and adjust that yourself, whether or not your vet says to. Listen to your vet, have those conversations. But if you go with their advice and it doesn't work, try feeding them a little bit more to keep them satiated. And you don't have to do it for a long period of time. Do it for a couple of weeks. Do it until they're done with their growth spurt. Do it until you see that leveling down of how they are and what they're doing and how they are interacting with the world around them. Try out different levels, see what you can do to kind of reduce that aggression and that need for food all the time, because some dogs are just going to be outliers. And your vet, having not seen them every single minute of every single day like you have, is just going to go with like the standard textbook issue or answer on that one. So make sure you're talking to your dog's nutritionist if you have one, talk to your vet, and then then see what you got to do. And sometimes you can just supplement with things. You can give them the appropriate amount of food, but then they get extra healthy snacks. So they get fruits and vegetables and extra things on top of that to kind of make up for that, so that as they're burning off all that energy simply by existing, they're getting enough to move forward with their life without being starving or without being aggressive. I know it's one of those things where you don't want to necessarily go against the vet's orders, what the vet tells you to do, but my gosh, it made a world of difference in all of my dogs. When I've seen things, it's made a really big difference. Your dog's going to be individual, your dog is going to be unique, and you got to be smart enough to listen to what your dog's body is telling you and adjust appropriately. Because if you don't, you could end up with some aggression, you could end up with some behavior you do not want, you could end up with some destructive behavior. If they're starving, they might start chewing things up around your house or tearing up your yard and eating dirt and all of those things. So be mindful, be aware, and start documenting things. If you need to document things, by all means do that. Take it, present it to your vet, and then make your best decision for your dog from there. Remember, you are your dog's advocate. Your vet is not. Your vet is giving you the answer that they can give you with the best of their knowledge before moving on to the next person. You're important while you're in the room. They're going to try to help you while you're in the room, but they have a lot of dogs and a lot of animals that they are working with, so they're not going to follow up on this. They're not going to look deeper on this. They are not going to put the time and investment into this that you are. You're the dog parent. You have to make the decision, and you have to be the one monitoring the situation and adjusting as appropriate. Follow along for more tips and tricks on English Springer Spaniels, on your puppies. We're talking about everything from dog travel to documenting your dog's life, from photos and videos, all the way to the tools and resources you need for their enrichment and training. So we'll see you in the upcoming episodes as we continue to help you live the best dog parent life possible.